What exactly will it take to create a new Detroit? Hello and thanks for joining us. I'm Laurel Hess and this is Comcast Newsmakers. Our topic today is the City of Detroit. Here to discuss it with us is Detroit City Councilman James Tate. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
I know you like to think of yourself as the new guy on the council, but you're 3 years into your first term, a 4-year term, and I'm sure learning every day and new challenges coming along every day. Has it been easier or more difficult than you would have thought?
Well, I would say it's been what I expected, but with a little bit more extra oomph added to it. You go through with all these great ideas with a lot of energy, and then you get in to office and you start peeling back layers and you realize that the challenges are a lot more detail than you thought they were. When you're running on a campaign, you have the case of, well, all you have to do is, and when you finally get there, you go, wow, this is why it hasn't happened. So now, I'm charged with trying to ensure that, we bring it a lot closer, the solution and the problem, and how do we make that gap in between the two disappear. And for me, everything that I do is really based upon, every vote that I take is based upon how it affects the family in the city of Detroit, because that is the core of what's going to turn this city around. It's not going to be government, it's not going to be business, it's not going to be, you name it. For me, it is the population, the residents, the families of this city. Everyone plays a role, but if the families of the city of Detroit do not feel empowered, you don't have those customers for the businesses. You don't have those employees for the businesses. You don't have taxpayers who are willing to stick it out in the tough times. And right now we are going through a tough time, but without a shadow of a doubt, I have in my mind, as a Detroiter born and raised in the city, that we're going to not only make it through and survive, but we're going to turn this place into somewhere that not just the city of Detroit residents, but the region and the country will be once again proud of.
You're certainly working on fighting all of the issues, whether it's a safety issue, a services issue, an education issue, a small business issue, but I know a couple of them are a little closer to your heart, very involved with something called the Youth Violence Prevention Task Force, because let's face it, violence is huge in the city of Detroit, and if people don't feel safe, they're not going to want to live there.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, families. It's so important that we have a plan, a progressive plan that deals with the issue of youth violence. When you look at the statistics on both sides of the gun, if you will, or whatever the tool is, you find young people as the increasing factor. And until we identify a way that is more pragmatic than passive, in terms of developing plans and strategic operations to address the issue of youth violence, this place will continue to have, these horrific stories that you see pretty much every night on the television news. You open up the paper. But again, that's where it goes back to the family. We have to provide certain services and not look at it from the standpoint of strictly enforcement. There has to be more proactive measures that are taking place. And for me, I'm a huge advocate of mentoring. Mentoring to me really provides a young person with an opportunity to see themselves in the future, gives them a chance to go, you know what, and takes them out of their environment and say, I can be exactly like that individual. And I don't have any children myself, but I look at all the young people in the neighborhood, all the young people that I come across as my children, as my kids. And I have a responsibility as an adult, one, who's lived in this in this community for my entire life, but two, now as an elected official, to do what is necessary to help change the trajectory of their lives. If they are in a situation where there's no hope, where there's despair, I want to pour in all the things that I've gained over my lifetime into them and to develop them into the next leaders that's going to take us to, the place where we all know and love for the city of Detroit to be.
So encouraging always others to mentor, especially males. I always hear, put the men back into mentoring because our young males really need those wonderful role models. And good luck with the challenges ahead. It's a big mess, and hopefully it won't be. If we sit down and talk again this year, at least we'll be on the road to recovery. Thanks so much for joining us today.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Today's Comcast Newsmaker was James Tate, a Detroit City Councilman.